there was a big 8th grade trip to Disney World. I really wanted to go, but it was really expensive. It was like $1,000, something crazy. And it's like 5 kids, remember? And my choir teacher, I always get a little emotional saying this because it's like teachers don't make very much, you know? They deserve so much more credit. But yeah, I don't know how she did it. I don't know if she paid it out of her pocket, but she found a way for me to go. And what's really interesting is you fast forward, I am now the voice behind the fireworks show every night at Disney World. And when I go, I get free tickets. I get to take my whole family. So it's really cool to see, like, they didn't think I was going to go do music for a living. They probably thought I was going to end up in jail. I was a wild child. But they cared about doing their jobs well, and they cared about me.
Hi, I'm Ben Earl, and this is the podcast where I get to know country stars through the places that have made them who they are. Because I think in a way that we are everywhere we've ever been. The places we go, they lead to the people we know, and that all comes out in our music. So if you love country music, if you're curious about the world, and if you want to hear the best storytellers telling their stories in their own words, stick around. You're definitely going to want to hear this. This is Country Roads. I'm very excited to welcome to Country Roads someone who I think the word is spamming one of your songs. I'll tell you what that song is in a minute, but I'm so excited. Angie K, welcome to Country Roads. It's so great to have you here.
It's so exciting being here. It's fun to talk to people all over the world about country music. It's if you had told me 10 years ago I'd have a podcast with you guys, like, I think it's pretty amazing, like, just getting to share my music around the world.
I mean, your song Stay, I've just had that on repeat. I don't know what it is about that song, the chord progressions. Has anyone told you sound a bit like Celine Dion as well in points?
Oh my God. They haven't, but that just absolutely made my year. Celine Dion, to me, is the absolute GOAT. Like, I feel like she is the epitome of what a vocal performance should be. So that is an insane compliment. Thank you.
I actually wrote a song for her. And she covered it, and I sang the demo, and then her version, I was like, yeah. I mean, I'm a singer, but she's a singer.
That is insane.
Yeah, but seriously, your voice, it's just something about the way your voice kind of cracks at the top very slightly. It's that second line when you go, beautiful people, da-da-da-da, and just, the second line just kills me.
Faking what's real.
Oh, that one, does things. I love it. I really love it. We're not together in person today, unfortunately, but you're in Nashville. I'm in London. When was the last time you were over here in the UK?
I touched down for about 12 seconds and turned right around in 2020.
No, really?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of crazy because the president announced, he basically just said, no one's allowed back in the U.S., but there wasn't a clarification that U.S. citizens would be. And so there was this, like, insanity at Heathrow. And it was like, I mean, I don't think I've ever experienced, possibly will never experience, hopefully, like anything like that. I mean, it was, you really see the character of people when they're put under the gun like that, you know?
Yeah. But you were here for Long Road as well in 2024, is that right?
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
You've lost 4 years there.
Yeah. So I did that with Reese Palmer. Yeah. She invited me up where she kind of takes more diverse artists and brings them overseas. And I had the most insane experience. That honestly felt like an alternate reality, because as an artist here, you know, you're trained that you kind of just need a radio hit by the time before you get to a show and people are screaming the song back at you. But people in the UK do their freaking homework. Like, yeah. I showed up, I played this little porch stage, and there was a sea of people there that all knew the words, but it was like a smaller stage. And I was already like, this isn't, I never thought that was even possible. Like, I literally didn't think that was possible without $1 million behind pushing a song. But people, like, coming to the festival, they listen to the music and they learn the words. And then last minute, they were like, do you want to do the main stage and do a song on the main stage? Well, the band knows one of your songs. And Reese was like, play the slow one. My favorite is this song called Death of Me. And I'm telling you, there's no way I would have ever gotten away with playing that in the U.S. Like,
oh, really?
to a crowd that big, and I have one song and I play the most ballad song on my entire repertoire that's called Death of Me. No way. Absolutely not. I would have had crickets. But she was the reason I was there, and I just loved her so much. And I was like, I'm going to be brave, and I'm just going to play this song, even if everybody like is confused why this girl is singing
I remember
this
because I was
song.
there. I was there, and it
Were
was
you really?
amazing. Yeah, I was there. I was in the crowd, and it was like you say. I can understand everything you just said, but the fact that you played this ballad, and I was like, oh. You just own that moment so much. And everyone, it's quite a big crowd, like you say, 10,000, 14,000
Huge.
people. And everyone kind of stopped and went, oh, wow, this is amazing.
That was where I realized the magic of the UK. There is something very, I mean, I love the US. I love the audience here. I love my community. But there's no other way to describe it than different. There's like such a level of respect for artists that, I think you see here in the US, we have such a high level of what the term entertainment means. Like, it's kind of like the Disney World effect. Like, the capability of us touring this country is so much easier than other countries that we're able to bring these huge rigs with us when we travel, and there's pyro and we're used to that now. Like concerts, we come here, we're used to the bells and the whistles and pink flying through the air, And then you go to the UK and there's not that culture. It's a listening culture, and it's like a breath of fresh air to an artist like me. And I've just been wanting to go back ever since.
Well, you're always welcome here. Angie, on this podcast, we talk to country artists about the places that have had the biggest impact on them in their lives. And with you, we have to start in El Salvador.
Oh, yeah.
Because you were there, you lived there until you were 9 years old. That's where one of your parents is from, is that right?
Yeah, my dad's side of the family is from there.
Okay. And then your mum is from New Mexico?
For the most part, yeah.
Okay. So how did they meet?
They met at University of New Mexico. They met for like 4 months and then got married. I'm actually really excited because I'm playing Boots in the Park in Albuquerque. And I'm going to go there early, and I'm going to go to the spot where they got engaged. And yeah, my mom's going to come out and see my family. But I'm opening for Karin Leon and Post Malone that day. So it's pretty insane. Yeah. It's a really cool situation. But yeah, they met at University of New Mexico. And then my dad's dad, my grandfather, who I never met, he got kidnapped for ransom before I was born. And I remember my mom telling me the story that she had to literally tape the money on her body to go down, not because it wasn't legal to bring money down, but because how dangerous it was if people knew that they had that much cash on them. They got him out, but then he developed cancer shortly afterwards. And my dad decided to stay down there to help with they had like a family business down there. And my dad almost got kidnapped twice. He literally jumped out of a moving car once to get away. And at that point, it was like, okay, we're leaving. And my dad basically gave up a lot of money, a lot of generational wealth they had brought up in order to bring us to the United States because of a lot of complications. But like, he basically said, I don't care about the money. And he moved to the US with not a lot, and then bought a little house. And he's taught me a lot about character, because it's funny when you're growing up, you don't really realize what you're being given. You kind of take your parents for granted. But he never complained about figuring out a way to pay for 5 kids.
5 kids, wow.
5 kids, 5 girls too. So he's like the chillest dude on the planet now.
Oh my gosh. I've got my first daughter. I've got 3 kids, but only one is a girl. And already, she's only 3. Already it's a thing.
It's a lot. No, I mean, we shared a bathroom. I don't think we went a day without a fight in that house, or a slam door. But it's funny, we're all really close now. Like, I'm really close with my sisters, and they come out to shows, and I'm really excited about these upcoming, like the Brooks and Dunn tour and the Post Malone show. It's half the fun is getting to share it with your family,
And there's not been one artist on this podcast who hasn't said that family has been the sort of bedrock of their career. It's such a thing in country. I think it's a thing across all genres, but particularly country. I'm really fascinated because I read a thing before your move. Was there something on a bus, like, was it held up by a gun or something? Yeah,
man, you did your research. Yeah, so I remember I must have been like 8 or 9, I guess. And my mom finally let me go on a school trip. We went to a private school in El Salvador that was like there was men with AK-47s in the front every time you walked in. And I didn't know, like, as a kid, you don't know the difference, right? Like, I've never seen anything different. So I never felt scared. Like, I hadn't really felt the depth of what could happen, if that makes sense. And so we went out. I don't think we ever actually went anywhere. I think, from what I remember, the bus stopped, and I remember everybody having to lay down in the middle of the bus. Because we went to a private school, the assumption was that our parents had money and we were a great candidate for like a big payout. And at the time, the way these guerrilla groups, and in Colombia and a lot of other countries, the way they get paid is they take people for ransom, get the money, and that's how they keep funding themselves. And so the bus stopped and everybody lays down on top of each other in the middle aisle, the tiny middle aisle. We're on the floor. And I remember my teacher kind of holding me and being completely over me, and me being like, she was kind of heavy, and I was like, oh, it's so annoying. Like, I remember actually just being annoyed, not really putting together that she was literally saving my life, like if anything happened. And I just remember the bus stopping, them talking to some people, and then wanting to look out the window, and my teacher being like, no, and being like, oh God, that was really aggressive. And then we turned around and went back to the school. I remember like my mom picking me up and her being like, how was your day? How did the field trip go? And they hadn't told her yet. They hadn't told her yet. It was just crazy to me because they had her come pick us up early or something. I can't remember everything. But I remember being like, yeah, the apparently they were like men with guns. And like, I didn't know what I was saying. And she was like, what? And obviously my mom's American, so she knows what's normal. And she's like, that's not okay. So that was the beginning, I think, of her conversation with my dad. Like, we got to go. What's really hard, though, is El Salvador is one of the most beautiful countries.
I was going to say, because the juxtaposition of like, you look at what it looks like and then that, I mean, what was it like apart from that, which is obviously a very traumatic story? What was your childhood like growing up in such a beautiful place? What did you kind of do sort of daily?
It's funny. It doesn't feel traumatic to me because I really didn't know what was going on. I think it was more traumatic for my parents, but for them, for sure. But I just remember growing up with like such an incredible freedom. Like every weekend, I had a Tia Leslie that had one of those rudimentary beach houses that's like just concrete, you know? There's just ceiling fans. There's no AC. And there was a little pool in the front. There was a little, I don't know what you call it, like 4 pillars, and then there was hammocks on each pillar.
Oh, nice.
And my sisters and I would go out there for hours. We wouldn't even say a word. We just sit on the hammocks and look at the water. And I grew up near the sea, and that's still such a big source of calm for me. But it was wild. I'd just run around. I think we went there so often because my mom knew how valuable it was for the kids to be in nature, and there wasn't really a safe place to do that in the city. Like, we had drivers with bulletproof glass. I remember seeing my mom once, her tires getting shot out when I was behind her in my dad's car, and it rolled 360 off the road. Everybody was okay. And again, like, I look back on these and I'm shocked I didn't feel more. I mean, maybe I did and I have to like dig it out or something, but I felt so safe around my parents that I felt like everything was going to be okay.
And that's amazing. That's testament to their parenting, and the fact that your mum, I mean, you probably remember the beach more than those kind of memories in terms of feeling them, the visceral feeling of it, I imagine. Am I right in saying also that Christina Aguilera was one of your first kind of musical influences when you were growing up? Is that right?
Yeah, man, I'm so surprised. These are great questions. Yeah, there was 3 CDs you could get in El Salvador at the time that were American music, and it was Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, and Christina Aguilera.
Okay. So you're listening to that on the hammocks? That just the 5 of you just on the hammocks listening to Christina blasting out?
No, we really wouldn't listen to music out there because it was before. I don't know if that was happening in the U.S., but we didn't have like the mobile CD players or anything. So you could only really listen to them on headphones or on a tape player. You can stop and I would get a tape player because I wanted to rewind and stop over and over again on Christina Aguilera's runs.
Oh wow!
Like I was so obsessed with the way she sang. And to this day, if you really listen to the way, so I feel like this is my theory. Runs, like vocal runs, are almost like a fingerprint. You can copy them. Like Beyonce has very specific runs. Justin Bieber, very specific runs. Christina Aguilera, my runs, if you really listen to them, are modeled after her. Because I, as a kid, would for talent shows, I would rewind and play. And I would slow down the run over and over again until I got it for hours in my room. I annoyed the crap out of my family. But I loved Christina Aguilera. I still think she's one of the best voices out there. I mean, Celine is definitely, no one tops her, but Christina Aguilera's
I've got to say, Angie, as well, over here in the UK, I don't know if you know this, but if you have the runs, and it's the same in the US, it's slang for like having diarrhea. So
Yeah, you know
I was
what?
kind of thinking that when you said Beyonce's got the runs.
That's really funny.
Out of context, we don't put that out. It's I saw that picture that you posted. That it was like a cute pic. I think it was you when you were young with the Christina album. It's like a scrapbook kind of photo.
Yeah.
It was lovely to see that kind of, remembering that kid who loved just making music. I've got that. I've got records. I used to sit in my, I had a room in the attic and that's my bedroom. I used to just listen to songs all the time. Just have CDs on. I had this little mini disc player. I used to just, same as you, I used to record stuff and be, I want to hear that again. And yeah, I love that. I love hearing that. You do have a beautiful song as well called Laredo, which Laredo, for people who don't know, is a Texan city on the Mexican border. But can you tell the story of that song? Because I feel like it's a real story.
Yeah, well, parts of it are for sure. And then I think I filled in the blanks. So like my great-grandparents on my mom's side, my great-grandfather's name was Celedon. And she always told me these wild stories about him, that he lived in Colorado for a long time, was a miner. I actually got to go to Silverton where he mined, and his name's actually on like this old book. This was really cool. And then he moved around. He was a rancher for a while. And he met his wife, who was kind of more of like a homemaker and just like a really interesting woman. And they got married, and they kind of like his stories of like horses and rodeo and all this stuff were always stories I'd been told since I was young. And I'm older now, and I'm like, I don't know how many of them are true. Like, I mean, I feel like they were embellished. But that was kind of like I remember it was me, Nellie, and Jason in the room, and we were kind of creating this landscape with our thoughts all together. And obviously they were kind of more on the rodeo side is what they could plug into, and mine was more on like the movement side. And we kind of just plugged into this picture. And I love this song because I just see what I think my great-grandparents were like every time I play it. And it's almost like this like kid story I've been told all the time, brought to life, and I get to share it with everybody every time I play it. But it's one of my favorite songs I've ever written. And what's crazy is we wrote most of it, and we thought we didn't really get anything. Like all of us, like we kind of were like, oh, it was kind of like, I don't want to say a waste of a session, but it was the first time we had written together, and I don't think any of us thought like, oh, we got something good. And it was like months later, I'm going through my like voice notes on my phone, trying to find an idea for an upcoming write I had. And I listened to it again. I'm like, wait, no, this is great. And I text them immediately, and I'm like, guys, we need to put a date together, and we need to finish this song. Like, I don't know how, like, this is a great song. And all of them wrote back right away, be like, no, this is great. How did we let this slip under the radar? And it like reminds me all the time after a session when I'm like, I don't think we got a good one today. It could be. And I'll save it, and I'll write the name down, and later on I'll always go back and listen to those voice notes because of that song. So that song not only was a big song in my career, but it also was a big one in me trusting the process a little more and not trying to feel like I have a hit every time.
I love it in the song as well when you say he was a vaquero, and it feels so sort of genuine. Sorry about my pronunciation, but for people who don't know, vaquero is a sort of Mexican Spanish cowboy, isn't it? Is that right? Sort of Latino,
well, that's just
cowboy.
the Spanish name for cowboy. Yeah.
But it's the way you say it. There's like a genuineness to it because that's your life. That's your roots. That's where you've come from. And I feel like from what you just described in the video, you do that because you have even though it's filmed on the same day, you look like you're from the present. And the love story that you show in it feels like a kind of, it's like an old video. Like you're telling an old story, a historic story. And I love the fact that you're kind of doing that myth in there. I love that. Fascinating though, you move to Marietta, Georgia for all the reasons you said when you're 9 years old. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what was that like going from El Salvador to Georgia? I mean, was that a big culture shock for you? What was it like?
I remember just being excited because and that's what I think it's hard to understand when you live here, when you've lived here your whole life. So much of entertainment is made here. Like the movies are made here. All the country music's made here. New York City, it's like in LA, like so much is made here that it almost feels like this Disneyland place that's like far off in the distance. And I remember in El Salvador, so the only place I'd been to the U.S. was Albuquerque, New Mexico, which was very deserty. And my dad loved old Westerns. So I just assumed the rest of the U.S. was kind of like that. And I remember when we landed in Atlanta, I'm like, what is this place? Like, this is not what I was expecting. And we drove from Atlanta to Marietta, to our house, our new house, for the first time. And I remember hearing it was Dixie Chicks, it was Keith Urban, Shania Twain, that don't impress me much. And then,
And so for people listening, that was the most perfect head sort of
oh yeah,
movement I've ever seen in my life. That was,
you can't
how
sing that
do you
and not
do
do a
that?
little
That's
of that.
incredible. It's like your head's not attached to your shoulders. That's incredible.
Yeah, I have another career as a dancer. But no, I remember hearing those songs on the radio, and I just remember every part of me knowing that's what I'm going to do. And I'm telling you, I like remember the moment so viscerally. Like, there was 2 moments in my life I've had where I felt like something had already happened before it happened. It was that moment in the car, and I was a full-time mechanic, and I was going to school, and I remember I was biking to work because my car had broken down. I mean, I had nothing in my name, like broke. And I remember this feeling like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a job on a cruise ship, play music, and then I can save up because I don't pay for rent anymore, and I'll make an album. And I had never been on a cruise ship before in my life. I didn't know the process of getting a job, but I just remember it might as well had already happened. I knew it was going to happen. And I didn't even work that hard for it. I like went on Google, sent in my little silly me in my bedroom playing music. And by some miracle, a year later, someone calls me and says, can you be in Miami in a couple of weeks? Like,
wow.
Yeah. And so I really believe in those feelings. When I get those deep gut feelings, like, it's not something that I feel like, oh, I'm going to work so hard and do it. I'm like, oh, well, this will happen. I don't know how it's going to happen, but it will happen. And that car ride home from El Salvador to U.S., driving to the new house, I knew without a shadow of a doubt I was going to be a country artist.
Wow, that's amazing. But before that, because that's incredible. I got goosebumps thinking about it, honestly. I love those epiphany moments. But you were really encouraged musically, weren't you? When you got to the States, you started playing the guitar, you joined the choir at school, and it was your teacher who was like really instrumental in sort of encouraging you musically. Is that right?
Yeah, I had 2 really great chorus teachers. One was in middle school. Her name was Miss Sigler. And I remember there was a big 8th grade trip to Disney World. And I really wanted to go, but it was really expensive. It was like $1,000, something crazy. And it's like 5 kids, remember? And my mom was like, I just don't think we can do it. And keep in mind, my mom had saved up money for weeks so that I could go to this regional choir I got into, which is speak for parents as here's a bill that you have to pay now. But my mom, it was the only trip I took alone with my mom, but it was to Nashville. So like they had really encouraged me. So it was like they would have paid it if they had it, but she couldn't put the money together. And my choir teacher, I always get a little emotional saying this because it's like teachers don't make very much, you know? They deserve so much more credit. But yeah, I don't know how she did. I don't know if she paid it out of her pocket, but she found a way for me to go. And what's really interesting is you fast forward and I am now the voice behind the fireworks show every night at Disney World. And when I go, I get free tickets. I get to take my whole family. So it's really cool to see, like, I feel so much gratitude because there's just like, this industry can be so hard. And there's so many artists that just like go through such really low lows. And I've been there, but there's so many people on this earth that just want to see people succeed. And it's like, she was just a teacher making so little. And she like went out of her way to really teach us to sight read, even though we'd roll our eyes and hate it the whole time. And I'll tell you, my high school choir teacher was so mean. She like, I'm joking. She wasn't mean, but she would always make me sing like soprano too. And I obviously am an alto too. I have really low voice.
Yeah.
But she would always push me. And every time we hated sight reading and she knew it. And no one wants to teach something to a kid that like obviously is dragging their feet. And I remember when I went in to record the Disney song, I was in Capitol Records. I should not have gotten this part. This should have been a major Disney artist. But for whatever reason, I sang the demo and my voice meshed with Jordan Fisher, who like is a Disney star, so well that I got bippity boppity booed into this song. And I'm in Capitol Records and I like show up and I remember them giving me sheet music to the song. And me being like, oh, thank God for Zelda Johns and Miss Sigler for making me learn how to do this. Cause I mean, Jordan's like a Broadway star. Like he can do anything. But yeah, it's like, they didn't think I was going to go do music for a living. Like, they didn't even know. They probably thought I was going to end up in jail. I was a wild child. But they cared about doing their jobs well, and they cared about me. And, you know, I always say, like, life is all about perspective and the way you look at things. And I can look at things and say, oh, I wish that, I don't know, I could sell out a 5,000 person place in Nashville right now. Or I could look at it and be like, damn, it's pretty insane that 500 people got a babysitter and bought a ticket and came to see me play. So it's like, it's all about perspective. And there's so many people that went out of their way. I mean, I can't even count all of them that made this dream happen.
And that story, that is like the perfect arc, isn't it? Like she pays for your trip to Disneyland, which is a lot of money, like you say. And then now you are, I was going to get to that later, but if people don't know, every night the fireworks, your voice is, you know, is singing, ringing out across Disney World.
I think it's a gold record now, actually. They're checking it right now.
That's amazing.
Pretty wild.
That's just absolutely beautiful. My wife's a teacher, so stories like that like really just warm my heart. A couple of things that I'm really fascinated about, two questions with you is, you know, obviously you're from El Salvador originally and you're living in America. It makes you kind of an outsider. And that's a really common theme on the podcast, is people who are outsiders in some shape or form. But also, I mean, your song Red Dirt on Mars, I think maybe touches on your first sort of real heartbreak. And also sort of being openly gay as well as an artist, which in country, I hate the fact that it isn't, shouldn't be, but it is a big deal. Do you feel like an outsider, or did you feel like an outsider growing up?
Yeah, it's funny you say all this because I actually wrote a book for this record that has like some of my early life, and then each chapter is like a song on the record. So I had to kind of go through my story all over again. And I did always kind of I feel like I was always a little too loud. And what's interesting is I got together with some high school friends after years, not that long ago. And I realized, wow, we all kind of felt like that. We all felt pretty lonely and a little bit outside. I mean, some of the stuff they were dealing with, I was like, wait, what was happening? You know, and they didn't talk about it. And I'm like, wow, it's like we all kind of felt. So I don't think it's necessarily unique, but yeah. I felt really kind of like I didn't really have a solid friend group, and that I had a place that I belonged. I always felt a little outside. I mean, most of my friends when I went to college were like in their 60s at these open mics I would go to in a cab, you know? Like I was just, I loved this. I collected them. I collected these like people that were all different shapes and sizes and ages, and they were my people. I mean, when I started touring, I couch surfed. So like it was like a website you'd go on and people would let you crash on their couch for free. And some of these people are still some of my best friends, you know? So I always kind of felt a little bit like a carny. And I think the blessing of that is people aren't as scary to you, because I feel like I've met a lot of people that look kind of scary or look really different from me or look whatever. And they're some of the sweetest people I've ever met and would give the shirt off their back for you. So when you come to my show, you'll see someone with blue hair standing next to like the countryest country boy you've ever seen, and they're hanging out and they're excited to see each other. I feel like that's what my music is. It's like, it's not made for everybody. It's like this net. And if you're like us, you'll get caught in the net and you'll find a place you can come by yourself and leave with friends. And I think of that every time I make a record, like, is this going to attract the people that I want to come to my show?
It drives me crazy, though, that, you know, I'm sure there are artists who are gay, who hide their sexuality because they feel it's going to harm their career.
There are, yeah.
But do you ever feel pigeonholed as a gay country artist? Is that everything you feel?
I think my particular lifetime worked out really well for me because, well, here's the thing. So I think the next generation, it's going to be a lot easier, like an order of magnitude easier. What's hard about that is like, it's really hard to put in perspective what was built for me. And I remember I was sitting down with somebody who like helped run the ACMs. They're also in the LGBTQ community. And he was like, it's just crazy to me that like people in your generation don't know these names that I know so well. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like Shelley Wright, you know? And I'm like, who's that? And I couldn't believe I didn't know the name. She was one of the first people that got dropped because she came out as gay. And there's so many people, like Tyler Herndon, who's now a good friend of mine, he just came out with a book actually about how intense that was. And the radical difference of what they went through coming out. Because before them, there was no one. It wasn't even allowed to, you couldn't talk about it. They came out, lost their deals, and stayed true to themselves, radically changed their career. So when I look at what they did, what I do feels so much easier. And I make it such a point to talk about it, because even just like 5 years, there's artists that are about 5-6 years older than me that are signed to record deals. You know their names, you know their songs, and they can't come out. And I remember I'm not going to say which record label, but I was being considered heavily for this big record label. And I got all these meetings and they were so good. And I thought for sure I was getting signed. I've never actually told the story before. And here's the thing. There's a million reasons to not get signed. So it's impossible to know this for sure. And I really want to say that because it's like, it's just impossible to know. It's same as being a female in the music industry. You don't know if that's the reason why you didn't make it. There's a lot of reasons not to make it, but it's a possibility, right? And somebody from the label about a year later kind of came to me and she was like, well, Ange, just think about it. One of their biggest artists is gay and they're not coming out, obviously because they're being advised not to. How can they sign someone who is openly out? Yeah. Like, how does that make sense for what they're telling one artist and telling another? And I was thinking about it and I was like, damn. And it's hard. I mean, you'll have like people like Lily Rose. She's great and she's out and proud, but she also, I don't know if you noticed this, never says she in a song. And that, I don't know if that's an artistic choice, but I know that she said she doesn't want to be pigeonholed. Yeah. But it's like, why would you have to change the way you write songs? And that's something I decided I didn't care about. And my journey has been such a blessing because I think of it kind of like the way I'm a mechanic. Like, I can buy any car I want and love it. I have zero fear in buying cars because I can put together an engine like the back of my hand. So it's easy for me to buy something. There's no fear for me, right? Whereas that's usually an anxiety-inducing thing to get I can get crazy deals on cars and know that, like my 4Runner that I have now, I got it for almost nothing because the guy said that the brakes were messed up. At the end of the day, he just warped the rotors and I could feel it when I drove the car. So I gave him the money he asked for. I came home. I will get 3 times what I paid for that car and I'll probably never sell it. I love that car. It's a 2010 and it works great. And it's like, I have that skill set, so I'm not stressed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Bear with me. I know this is a weird analogy, but because I built my career off of, sell 10,000 albums, shake 10,000 hands, no one can take anything from me, right? Yeah. Like, when you have a team and they make you big, there's this separation between you and the booker, separation between you and the fans. And all of a sudden, when that person leaves, you don't even know who to email to get that gig, right? And it's like, it kind of feels like someone always holds the key to your career. And it's like, I would rather make 10 times less and feel like no one can take it away.
You've got such a great perspective on it. I'm really inspired by everything you're saying, massively. But you mentioned the cruise ship. And there's a really nice kind of thing here as well, because you get on the cruise ships and you meet your now wife on there, which is amazing.
How crazy is that?
So congratulations with that. But what was performing like? Was it? I actually did my first cruise. We got invited as special guests. I went on a couple of months ago. I was horribly seasick. I was only on for two days and I was so ill. I was just throwing up everywhere. It was terrible. But it's like a whole world in itself. And how long were you doing that for? And what was it like for you?
Oh my God, I loved that job so much. I had just turned 21 and the beers were $1.50 at Crew Bar. And like, okay, I want you to imagine I'm just this kid. Most of my wardrobe consists of free t-shirts I got in college and the clearance aisle at Walmart. I mean, I don't even, like, I look at some of these pictures of me, like I wore that on stage. Like, I mean, I was like just this wild child. I came from going to school full time. I was trying to become an engineer at Georgia Tech. I really struggled there. And then I worked as a mechanic, right? So I went from literally my entire life was working. And then I would play these dive bars and hang out with like my 20-year-old older friends. Like that was my life. And then I wake up, I'm in the Caribbean. I play for 4 hours, which is nothing for me, right? Because perspective is everything. And then I'm off the rest of the day and I'm at the beach. And like, all I have to do is play Margaritaville for friends, like the new people that are just hanging out happy on vacation. Like I was so happy. And there's a song on my first record. And my first record was literally, I went to the only studio I knew, which was in Athens, Georgia. And I gave him $300. And I was like, how many hours can I get for $300? And he was like, I think he was amused with me. And the mic that he put me on was probably a $12,000 mic. Like, and I didn't know that. I remember I only found that out later when I went back to another studio. And I was like, what did you record on? And I tell them and they're like, wait, what? Yeah, I went and I just recorded an acoustic guitar and vocal live. And to this day, that's some of my fans' favorite record I made.
Which song was that? Sorry, what was that?
It's called Let It Ride.
Let It Ride, okay.
And I wrote half of it when I was trying to figure out how to do music full time. And the other half, like the second verse, I am. And it's I'm not specifically saying that I'm playing music. I'm just saying like, it's like a dream. And then it's like, now I'm doing it. And it's still one of my favorite songs I've written. And it reminds me so much of like man, you gotta dream it first, and then sometimes the universe aligns to give it to you. And I just woke up on that ship every day, excited, like every single day. And I spent every dollar that I made on $1.50 beers, but also on Wi-Fi. So
it's crazy expensive.
Yeah,
isn't it?
so I could learn the songs. So I thought I'd get fired if I didn't know a request. So I learned about 3,000 songs. I learned about Joni Mitchell. I learned about Janis Joplin, Bonnie Raitt, Alanis Morissette. I mean, so many records I hadn't really just heard. Like Journey, I feel like is so underrated in their songwriting because we've heard their songs so often. But you listen to the words of Faithfully or Don't Stop Believing, like really listen to them. They're so good.
Yeah, those big songs, I feel like you don't take in how good they are because they're just classic songs. You just think, oh, that's just, Don't Stop Believing. But actually listen to the song, right? In the piano in that, the chord movements, the lyrics. They are massive songs, aren't they?
Fantastic. You too. I mean, there's so many. I feel like that was my 4-year music degree, was playing on cruise ships every day for 4 days.
And it's great for your songwriting as well, isn't it? It's amazing. I want to ask you about the voice, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Because that comes after the cruise ships, is that right? And then
I should say that I had an assumption I was going to be on a TV show. That was another one of my gut feelings. And I had tried out for everything. I remember once convincing a friend of mine, which I now in hindsight think he was kind of into me and I kind of feel bad about it, but I convinced him to drive. I convinced him to drive all the way to Texas with me to audition for X Factor. And we slept in the car to audition. And I think I got through one round and then I got out. And I auditioned so many times. I auditioned 4 times for The Voice, never got through the first round. And I remember that X Factor audition, this woman saw us sleeping in our car and was like, "Are you guys okay?" Because we were just these kids. And we were like, "Yeah, we're just going to sleep in our car tonight." And she was like, "Under an overpass? Like, what's wrong with you?" It was a little parking lot. And she was like, "Just come with me. I have a hotel room that's 2 beds. Like, just sleep in a normal room tonight and whatever." That same woman was the mother of this girl that's now my friend that works with Kix Brooks, that has a organization called Hope on the Row for people that have been wrongfully incarcerated. So looking back, I know why she came and stopped us, because her daughter, was on and off the streets at the time. She had a drug addiction that she overcame and has an incredible life now. But that's part of the reason why I ended up on the Brooks and Dunn tour, by the way.
Wow.
Which is very full circle. But going back to The Voice, I auditioned a couple times. I eventually got reached out to by a producer because I was putting, like, every time I was in like the Bahamas, I'd find this random Chinese restaurant that had enough Wi-Fi for me to upload videos. And I would sit there for hours because that's how long it took to upload a video back then. And they saw one of these videos and they invited me to audition. And I flew from St. Thomas to New York and auditioned and got stuck there for a week because of a winter storm. And I didn't get through. And they asked me to audition again, but this time in LA. This was the next year. And I was in Marietta at the time, and I had like $700 in my account, and the flight was $600. And I knew Marissa because my now wife, because we had met on the cruise ships, but we hadn't dated or anything like that. And we just kind of talked and stayed in touch. And I was like, I called her and I was like, "Hey, is there any chance you could pick me up from the airport and take me to this audition?" Not realizing LA is really far from San Diego. Like, I just didn't put it together. And now I realize she liked me because, like, who would do that? But we showed up and we did that. And I remember showing up I was friends on Facebook with Ken Calais, who produced the Rumors album. And I showed up. I was like, "Hey, take me to Village Studios. I'm going to see if Ken Calais will give me a tour." Never met this man in my life. I don't even know why he approved my friend request. And I show up and I was like, "Hey, I just wanted to see if Ken Calais was in." He wasn't, but the studio owner, I think, was like amused by me, and he gave me a tour of Village Studio, which is where like Red Hot Chili Peppers and John Mayer and all these epic records have been made. Anyway, I had the greatest day of my life in LA auditioning with no money in my account, and I got through. And so from there, they flew me back and forth to LA, and they would sequester us in a hotel where you couldn't leave. And I would sneak out the day before. Me and actually the winner of the season, Allison Porter, we both, she was from LA, so we would sneak out, which we would get taken off the show if they found out. I would take the coaster, the train down to Encinitas to see my wife, and that's how we started dating.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, but The Voice changed my life. I loved that show. I
watched your audition just before we're speaking, and so you got Pharrell, Blake Shelton, Adam Levine, and then also Christina, wasn't it? Is
Yeah.
that right? And she was the only one that didn't
She's
turn.
the only one that turned. Can you believe that? I was like, she said she heard the boots, and I have to tell myself that it was because she assumed I was going to go with a country, whatever. But I'm like, dang it, I would have chosen you, Christina. I would have chosen you.
Because they all turn at the same time, or the three of them, and they're not. And I was like, oh my gosh, your 9-year-old self would have been like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, don't tell Blake, but I absolutely would have chosen Christina for sure.
Just to jump ahead to right now, because you got your new album, Whiskey and Hemingway, which you've released a couple of songs from, which I love. Very, very sexy song in Sweating.
Yeah.
That is a jam. I love
Thank
that.
you.
I was in the gym earlier and I just had that on. I was like, this is really, it's quite a sexy song.
Thank you. Yeah, we talked about Laredo earlier. That song actually, I have a friend named Rod who started playing at this place called the Nashville Palace, which is really known for line dancing. And he would start playing it as a couples dance song.
Oh, wow.
And it kind of just exploded in the line dancing world. And so I started kind of going out and learning to dance. And, I can dance to Latin music. I have a harder time dancing to line dancing, but I'm learning. And it's kind of fun. And then when you get it, or when you couples dance with somebody who's a really good lead, like in Latin or in line dancing, it feels really freaking good. Yeah. It feels like, I don't know another way to describe it other than living. And what I love about line dancing versus other dance communities is it's all shapes, all sizes, all ages, and everyone's dancing together and learning these line dances and learning whatever. And it's such an inclusive community, and the dancers are so much fun and they're such good people. And I feel like that's what this song was born out of, like these sweaty nights where you're like, oh, I'm going to leave in 20 minutes and you're there for another 3 hours. And one of my favorite parts about it, like I love to have a good drink, but it's so much fun to do something that's physical. And as adults, there's just not a lot of things for us. Like we're going to kill ourselves playing like a game of soccer, So it's like, I feel like dancing is this beautiful thing that I just really want to encourage more people to feel good in their skin, to feel sexy, to feel great, no matter what, it's so confidence building. And that song was literally like this snapshot of me realizing how much I absolutely love to dance.
I was going to say, it's almost the perfect marriage of your Latin side and your country side in that song, with the lion dancing, I guess, as well. I was going to say also, it's been like 10 years since you released your debut album, and I've listened through to a lot of your catalogue. Do you feel like what I just said about the sort of marriage of those two things, do you feel like this album is kind of really embracing who you are?
I think the last record was showing a side of me I'd never shown, which was a lot softer and a lot more guttural, if for lack of a better word. And then this record, I'm having a little more fun. So I approach things with like almost like a giddiness of like, what if I did it this way, right? And this record I was kind of mentored by Hop, who's part of the Zac Brown band, and he produced this record. And he actually lives 15 minutes from where I grew up in Marietta. And I love that man so much. And he's such a natural mentor. And he like really taught me how to do everything. And I was like, what I want to do for this record is I want 5 musicians, my favorite musicians, and I want them in the studio together. And I want us all to like sit and talk about the mood for a long time. And then I want to go out there and record it with no overdubs, which overdubs are what you do after you have your big tracking day and you add more percussion or you add more this or more that or synth. And I was like, no, I just want it to feel like everything we did in the room. And so I learned a lot, and I'll say like 4 songs of the 7 came out exactly the way I wanted to, and the other ones are great, but I feel like I'm ready for this next record. I think now I've internalized so much that the next record I make is going to be one that I actually produce.
Yeah.
So the next one I think is going to be the most me record I've ever made, but this one, I would say Sweatin'. I would say there's a song called Contigo that's coming out next. That one's very me. The acoustic guitar I really nailed down on this record. So like there's so many parts of this that I absolutely adore. But I would say this is more of like a playful record. Okay. Like I'm having a lot of fun playing on this record.
I'm so excited. Contigo sounds great as well. That sounds really
Thank you.
I'm excited for that one. Very quickly, I just want to say the green vinyl as well. Yeah, I saw you unboxing that. That looks amazing.
Yeah, I gotta send you one. It's the first time I've made vinyls. I'm excited about it.
It's just the color of it. And I heard you say you paid extra for the sleeve, paid extra for the extra thick vinyl. And you look like you can see you open the box and you're like, yes, this just looks exactly how I want. I would love one, but I know the postage can be very expensive. So next time in Nashville,
I got you. I would love to send you one. I actually have until the end of this month. I have free shipping for anyone in the UK, in Australia. I kind of looked at what my biggest countries were outside the US, but I'm like, it takes work to be an international fan. And I'm like, yeah, it might cost me a little more, but like, I want to take care of you guys. Like, it's like, so any of you guys listening to this, you're from the UK. Yeah, it's free shipping to you guys. I appreciate you guys.
That's so amazing. We can do some quick fire questions very quickly. Just before we do, in 2024, you launched the Country Latin Association.
That's
alongside
right.
Andrea Vasquez, which that's got to be a massive step for the sort of, is it Latinx you say? Is that the word, or Latin? I don't know what the right word is.
I don't use Latinx as much because to me, it's not a word I could pronounce in Spanish.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, which I find interesting.
I've heard Reese say it before, so I'm not really sure what is the right term or not.
I don't think there is a right term. I think you can use whatever you want, but it's like I made this organization and then it kind of there was so much interest in it that I love Andrea as one of my closest friends. And she's such a personable person and she's so good at being on it that I'm like, oh, us together is going to work really well. And she, thank God, jumped in and we did, our first event was with Karin Leon, who's one of the biggest regional Mexican artists in the world. We did like a panel at CMA Fest with the help of some incredible people like Nicole Morostica and Mia Jones. Yeah, we made this panel and it was huge. And then we got so much press and interest about it. So now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to compile this massive newsletter for everyone that's interested, either an ally or is an artist, and then create more and more opportunities. Like, for example, when I get a big stage, like I'm getting a huge stage at CMA Fest, I invited Alicia Dominguez, who is this incredible artist from Wisconsin. She has a song called En La Calle, which is like amazing. And so I'm like, come on stage and play it with me, So I'm trying to create connections for people where, okay, Den Rosales from Mexico is an incredible country artist. He's coming into town and I'm like, okay, I need to connect you with these two publishers and maybe do like a behind the scenes at the CMA, maybe like, it's like, these are such easy connections because there's people that want to plug into these communities. But the only way to do it authentically is figure out who's boots on the ground in Mexico, who's boots on the ground in Colombia, who's boots on the ground in El Salvador. And then when those artists spend their money to come to the US, I want to maximize their time the way people did for me, introducing me to people. So it's kind of like if you're in the UK, the biggest barrier is geography, right? Like when there's so many connections to be made in Nashville. If you're going to come to Nashville for a week, I want you to have a place to email and say, I'm coming to Nashville. Please let me know if there's something I can do. And I'll call my friend saying like, hey, this guy's here for a while. He needs a place to play. Can he open for you so he can invite his industry there? And I'll personally pay for 20 tickets for him to give to his industry people, So like we find ways to connect with each other and people that want to support financially these artists as well.
It's so important. You can see your passion for it. And like you said, you've lived it by having to do it with no money yourself. I think it's amazing you've done that. Also, what you just did a minute ago is proof that anything sounds better in Spanish, because that was just in the street, wasn't it? En la calle.
En la calle, en la calle. Yeah. Look at your Spanish. I like it.
It just sounds better. Very quick, Angie, before you go, very quickly, we always do quick fire questions. What's the place you like to escape to when you need to reset? Where do you go?
Definitely the beach. The beach or the studio. I really like to get engrossed in learning something new. Like I really love music from a musician and an artist perspective. Like I love creating and I love having the space. Like I'm learning harmonica right now. Like I love just like jumping into another facet of music. And even if I don't master that specific craft, it makes me a better artist all the way around.
I didn't know till I was about 30 that if you breathe in, it changes the note. It like there's the other note. I always saw these harmonica players and I was like, how are they doing that?
That's so funny.
Could you go do? That's what it did for me. The place you most like listening to music, where do you go?
The car. I mean, I feel like most people would say that, especially like Laredo. Like I said, when I rediscovered that song, I'll go through the car and I'm kind of tired of listening to music, and I'll open my notes and I'll just go and look at all of my work tapes and be like, is there anything I want to work on? And that is one of my favorite places to like mess around. Yeah,
I'm always the same. If it sounds good in the car, I know those speakers so well when you're driving. The most memorable place you performed?
Opening for Melissa Etheridge at the Ryman. Without a doubt. I mean, I played Nissan Stadium, which was really cool, but I was like really early on. So it wasn't like, I didn't have the crowd, so to speak, right? But it was like an epic experience. So it's definitely one of my favorite shows. So it's hard not to say Nissan Stadium because it's like the stadium here in Nashville. But I think the Ryman, I have this specific memory of Melissa Etheridge already is like one of my favorite people on earth. And she like was like, hey, loved your set. Come down to the dressing room afterwards. and she gave, like, I asked her for advice, and she gave me the best advice that I still hear in my head over and over again. She said, just don't treat the people in the suits better than you treat the people in the seats. And I'm like, damn, Melissa, it's one thing to meet like your favorite artist on earth. It's another thing for them to like exceed your expectations. And she absolutely did. And I feel like I had the crowd that night. And it was like one of the most iconic venues on earth. And it's one of those things where it has to line up. You play a ton of gigs where you can barely get them interested, and at the end you finally get them and you're off stage. Or you play and the music or the headphone mix isn't right, or like there's a million things that could go wrong, right? That show, everything went right. The crowd was perfect, and I was on, and I was like, I felt really good. And it was just me and a guitar. And yeah, that day was magic.
It's such an iconic venue. I've seen Alison Krauss there. I've seen quite a few artists there.
Love Alison Krauss.
But it's just, it was a church, wasn't it, originally? And it's just, you can feel that. It's just that, and everything you just described. That is the perfect way to end the podcast today, because I can just see that picture so clearly. And Angie, thank you so much. I've genuinely loved having you on the podcast. I'd love to see you over here or in Nashville.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and hopefully I'll get to see you in London one day.
Definitely. Thanks, Angie K.
Bye, guys.